Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5s. Let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. Number 2 would be The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Number 3 would be Napoleon. Number 4 would be Wish. And number 5 would be Trolls Band Together. And at the very least, I got 2 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. There was a little bit of an upset. There was a new release out that, and last weekend I had said I'm only predicting Beyonce to get into the top 5 because I think that's the only new release that'll really make a wave. A lot of these other movies seem like it'll be for like a niche kind of market. But one movie was actually able to sneak on in here and upset everything for me. Some of you tried to predict it and some of you got the placement right, but some of the others on the list were wrong. So let's go over what happened in the overall top 10. Number 1 was, of course, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. I think everyone kind of expected that at this point, especially after the huge waves that the Taylor Swift concert movie did. I think, I haven't really checked online to see like what the chatter is, if anyone really is even talking about it. I don't know if it's even really that big of a deal. To some it might be though. This opened way lower than the Taylor Swift concert movie. And you might be wondering how much lower. Well, the Taylor Swift movie opened at 92 million on its opening weekend. The film by Beyonce opened with 21 million this weekend. Now, that does add to a worldwide total of 27 million. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is. It could be the same as the Taylor Swift movie, 10 to 20 million. But right now, if you're just looking at that metric, I know a lot of people were like, man, if you thought the Taylor Swift movie was big, wait till you see how Renaissance does. And this is kind of doing the kind of numbers that you would expect from a lot of other like concert-esque kind of movies, stand-up specials or whatever. Like the best case scenario before the Taylor Swift release was kind of these numbers. So I don't really see it as that big of a deal, but I'm sure a lot of people will try to do the compare and contrast. And I think it's two different things. I know Beyonce is, beloved by many. She's a legend. Taylor Swift also has a similar kind of fan base where people are calling her a legend. She's an icon, and she's also a little bit more, I guess, more popular with the kids. not to say anything about Beyonce's popularity, but I mean, look at this here. Maybe it was a thing of marketing where I think a lot of people maybe knew the Taylor Swift movie exactly when that was coming out, and people maybe knew that a concert film for Beyonce was coming, but maybe they didn't know exactly when. Maybe the marketing wasn't strong enough. Who knows? So yeah, it's nowhere close to the Taylor Swift number. Like right now, it needs 157 million domestically to outgross that Eras Tour movie domestic run, and then worldwide it needs 222 million to get there. Probably not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to hold over in these next couple weeks. I'm going to assume not as well as this T-Swift movie, but still, like, I don't think this is an all-around awful thing. Like I said, this is kind of what I would usually expect in the best-case scenario pre-Taylor Swift. I think Taylor Swift is just a completely different phenomenon right now. So let's move right along to number 2, which is The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, still holding over pretty solidly. It had, like, from what I saw, like an exact 50% drop from last week, making 14 million, adding to a domestic total of 121 million. It is still 160 million behind Mockingjay Part 2. Worldwide, it is sitting at 243 million, so that is 403 million behind Mockingjay Part 2. So like I said, it's still going to shape up to be like the lowest grossing in the Hunger Games franchise, but that's fine because it's been a couple years, it's a different thing, and also it's a prequel. It's a very much so a Bumblebee effect, but most importantly also, it is 17 million away from doubling the $130 million budget that I had listed. I know a lot of people have been clinging to the 100 million number, and I think even Wikipedia, the last time I checked the Wikipedia page, they got rid of the 130 and are just keeping it at 100, which, that's fair. I think I always like to veer on the side of caution. So right now you can say they have doubled their $100 million budget, but if you want to go, by safety, let's get to at least 260. You know what I mean? I did see a tweet recently, one of those that just shows up on your like For You thing, the algorithm deemed that you have to see this tweet. And it was like talking about how successful this movie is and going like, it's kind of weird how this movie that is kind of looking like it's going to barely break even with its budget is being celebrated as like a success, and it's a refresher for some of these blockbuster films. And I know what they're kind of talking about just in the larger scheme of things. There have been a lot of big budget flops lately, and yeah, that definitely does tie into it. But I don't want to dismiss this movie either. Like, it's having a pretty solid run. I'm not sure how it's going to continue to hold over as far as what percentage it's going to drop, how it will compete with some of these other ones. I think next weekend it'll probably be a little fine. We'll talk about that when we get to the predictions. But when Wonka comes out the week after, we may be getting into some unexpected territory. So, and especially, I was checking like the releases for the 22nd and then going into Christmas. They're releasing movies on the 22nd, which is a Friday, but then also the 25th, which is like Christmas Day, which is Monday, Tuesday. What day is that? Whatever it is. And so there's a lot of movies coming around that time, like Poor Things, Iron Claw, Aquaman, Ferrari, Colored Purple. All these movies that are going wide. I know some will be releasing limited kind of beforehand, but there's just a bunch of shit coming out that I'm really excited for. A lot of people are really excited for. So I think by that point, Hunger Games may be completely washed out, but it'll be interesting. They've got one more week to make a little bit more money before Wonka kind of kicks off the whole thing for the Christmas movie season. Number 3 is the big upset that I was talking about, Godzilla Minus One. I thought for sure, the Japanese Godzilla films, when they're released in the States and theaters, not too many people see them. I don't know if it'll crack the top 5, but I think there has been some really great word of mouth for this movie to the point where it convinced me, I gotta go see this. I think I was wary before because I was like, I don't really know where this fits in with like a franchise timeline. Is there anything I need to watch beforehand? And as soon as I was kind of told, it's its own thing, you can just go check it out because it's a really good movie. And I really like this movie, and it has a lot of people really buzzing because people have been looking at the low budget of 15 million and seeing just how good the movie looks. Now, there is a little bit of misrepresentation as far as what does this mean for not just, Japanese currency, because this is a Japanese production, but also their labor laws and their low labor wages, which is, as far as I can tell, yeah, pretty low. If you thought in the States is bad, over there is pretty worse, is something that I also saw on the internet spreading around. It's not really that I've seen a lot of people who are I've been radicalized seeing how low the budget for Godzilla Minus One is compared to the nearly 300 million budget for the Marvels or whatever. And it's yes, but, you know what I mean? It's I am all for movies not costing as much, especially non-big event movies or something like the Marvels, or just in general, movies that don't look like they're that expensive, but somehow have these price tags. Yes, I'm all for having lower budget films because it also means, a higher chance of having a better profit off of it. If you gamble so much money on so many different projects, that's just, it's not really wise, especially if you were following the trend of people are bummed out on the MCU a bit and Indiana Jones and a couple of, and DC especially. So yeah, I just wanted to make that very clear. Yes, lower budgets for sure. I think there's definitely a way to do that and also pay everyone fairly. That being said, the people who are every blockbuster should probably cost this amount of money, I think people need to tone it down just a little bit. But that being said, it made 11 million this weekend in the States, which is obviously better than I expected. I think because of the word of mouth, it bumped it up, and maybe we'll see that, another high number next weekend. Who knows? But that adds to a worldwide total of $34 million. So they've already doubled, if we're going by our standards, they've already doubled the 15 million price tag, and they've made 4 million over that. And I think because of the solid word of mouth, I'm not even sure if it's been fully released in Japan yet. Maybe the number is wrong here, but I think it'll just continue to go up at this point because people are raving about this thing. Number 4 is Trolls Band Together, making 7.6 million, adding to a domestic total of $74 million. They are still 79 million off from the original film. Worldwide, it is sitting at 160 million, and they're 183 million off from the original film. But hey, they only need 30 million more dollars until they can officially double that $95 million budget and be considered a success. This is kind of weird because I feel when it initially came out on its opening weekend 2 weeks ago, I was it's a solid opening. They'll probably make their money back. And it kind of seems, and of course, maybe there'll be a Puss in Boots or Elemental effect where it continues to hold over when we least expected it. But it's interesting how they haven't doubled that budget yet. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe there's a couple other places it needs to be released worldwide, but I'm just kind of surprised that they haven't already. I'm sure they probably will at some point, but interesting. That's interesting. That's all I really got to say about that, because it kind of ties into a news report or something was kind of going around Migration is only estimated to make on the weekend of the 22nd $11 million, and people are holy shit, that's awful. And of course, like I said, that's in the midst of the slam dunk of other movies like Aquaman 2, especially. Wonka's still out, holiday season. I'm thinking Migration, if I can make a somewhat early prediction, maybe that one will probably be fine in the long run, but I'm seeing some people who are still like, the things that are happening with financial returns it's not just an MCU problem or a Disney problem. There's problems happening all over as far as like what movies can keep people's attention and keep people coming back. And yeah, I think that's totally valid as well to kind of talk about and kind of highlight here that it is kind of surprising that Trolls, a pretty popular franchise, especially for DreamWorks amongst the kids, hasn't doubled its budget yet. That is pretty low compared to a lot of other Disney kind of projects or Warner Brothers. But that being said, it'll probably be fun. Number 5, we're looking at Wish, making $7.4 million, adding to a domestic total of $41 million. It has outgrossed Strange World by $4 million and Treasure Planet by $3 million. It now needs $13 million until it outgrosses Raya. Worldwide, it is bumped up to $81 million, so it's outgrossed Winnie the Pooh by $31 million, Strange World by $12 million, and Fantasia 2000 by $21 million, and now needs $10 million until it outgrosses Treasure Planet. So at least it's not suffering the exact same fate of Strange World, where it was like, wow, it can't even outgross or get like a little bit higher than Treasure Planet, the lowest grossing Disney film, really. So it's having a little bit more luck with that. And it was also able to overtake a film that it was below last weekend, which we'll talk about in just one second. But still, the budget being as high as it is, 175 to 200 million, I'm not seeing, what's so great about this right now. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of getting like pity applause. Like, oh, you outgrossed the last Disney flop, Strange World. Congrats. And once again, it could be another Puss in Boots thing, could be another Elemental thing. Maybe this is the one that'll carry over into the holiday season really well. But I don't know. I don't think anyone cares about this. People have been conditioned for Disney Plus. That's also a factor. Number 6 was Napoleon, and I kind of figured, like, okay, there is a little bit of a chance Wish could overtake it, because although Napoleon did pretty surprisingly well, it also is a little divisive. The Rotten Tomatoes score, like the last time I checked, the critics are slightly positive, and then the audience was like, it just dipped into like the 50s, like 58 or 59% or something like that. So it was a pretty divisive movie. So, it's fine to estimate it could potentially drop off and last weekend opening at number 2, now it's at number 6, making $7.1 million. That does add to a domestic total of $45 million though. So for Ridley Scott, it has outgrossed Matchstick Men by $9 million, Body of Lies by $6 million, and it's a couple 100,000 over Thelma and Louise and Black Rain. It needs $2 million now until it outgrosses Kingdom of Heaven. Worldwide, it is sitting at $136 million, so that is $18 million over Body of Lies and $3 million over Black Rain. It needs $11 million until it outgrosses his last film, House of Gucci. So it's doing pretty solidly as far as his numbers go. Obviously, he's had bigger hits, but it's outgrossing some of his other films. So, it's in a solid position. And like I've been saying since it came out last weekend, and since Killers of the Flower Moon came out, because they're kind of in the same boat, even though the budget's pretty high, this is an Apple production, and it going to theaters is just kind of whatever it makes is just kind of a cherry on top, and it's distributed by Sony, so who knows how much Sony needs to recoup what they made to market it and put it out in theaters. Apple only cares about their numbers on streaming. They want a Ridley Scott movie for their streaming service. They want to see how many people sign up for Apple TV Plus for that movie, for a Martin Scorsese film. So for Argyle coming out in a couple months, the new Matthew Vaughn film. So yeah, it's probably fine. But it's sitting at $136 million right now, a little over, getting a little closer to its initial $200 million production budget. That doesn't look too bad, obviously. Number 7 is Animal, a movie I know nothing about, but I saw it was playing at one of my theaters near me, but I didn't go see it because I don't know anything about it. But it made $6 million this weekend, and this is on a budget of 100 crore. Who knows if it's in a good spot or if there's any other numbers anywhere, but it somehow snuck into the top 10. A lot of movies that were just here, you will notice, have been pushed out completely. So like the Marvels, the Holdovers, there's a couple other ones, but they're gone. They're just gone. Saltburn is gone. There's no staying power for them. Maybe sad, but I don't know, give some movies like this an opportunity to shine. Like I didn't really know what it was until I still don't really know what it's about, but like it really is registering to me now. Like, oh yeah, this is the movie that I saw on the AMC listing a couple days ago. Maybe some people will be interested. Number 8 is The Shift, a new film from Angel Studios, and you know how much I love that. They've been having a hell of a year. I guess. I don't know. It made $4 million this weekend. There's no domestic total. This is a new release. And I don't know how well its staying power is going to be. They can't recapture the same magic that Sound of Freedom had for them, especially with the like buy a ticket for a friend or whatever program that I guess they're still kind of doing. But the budget is relatively low at $6.4 million. So maybe, just maybe, it can get to that 12.8 sweet spot, you know? Number 9 is Silent Night, another new release that for a while, I feel so dumb. For a while, I was like, maybe it can sneak into the top 5. I had to convince myself not to put it in, and there you go. Here it is. You know, it made $3 million this weekend, which is the lowest opening weekend for a John Woo film for his American films. 10 million under his previous lowest, which was Paycheck. It needs 28 million until it outgrosses the entire domestic run of Hard Target, his previous lowest grossing domestic run, but it is nowhere near to that. You know, this movie, despite it having a marketing gimmick of like, it's John Woo and it's silent and it's Christmas action, it just didn't catch on. And I don't think the word of mouth was really that strong to really get people into the theater either. I'm sure some action fans are really digging it, and I know John Woo has a solid fan base, but it's just not connecting, you know? Bummer. And finally, closing out the video, number 10 is Thanksgiving, making $2 million, adding to a domestic total of $28 million. So $6 million until Eli Roth's Death Wish. Worldwide, it is sitting at $36 million, so it has officially doubled its $15 million budget, making a little over that. Will it get to triple it by getting to $45 million? Who knows? But it did outgross Cabin Fever for Eli Roth by $6 million and Hostel Part 2 by $3 million, and needs $12 million until it outgrosses Death Wish. So it's behind Death Wish both domestically and worldwide. However, no need to fret. It doesn't really need to do all that much better because they've already announced, Sony, Spyglass, and Eli Roth himself have already announced that they are in the works on Thanksgiving 2. So there you go. It does kind of have a little bit of a I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel bait horror ending, so I was already kind of expecting, like, they want to try to do more with this, obviously. And you know what? I enjoyed the movie. I think Eli Roth did a really good job with that. It would be interesting to see what else they do. So I am cautiously optimistic for what they do. Very happy for this movie's success. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, maybe a bit risky, but I feel like considering how wide this movie's getting released, it's not just a limited one as far as I can tell, and considering the fan base around this production company, around this filmmaker, beyond this style of animation and kind of film, I think The Boy and the Heron may have a chance, considering how low some of these numbers are. I think The Boy and the Heron has a chance to squeak into number 1. And then number 2, I think, will be Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. Number 3, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Number 4, Godzilla Minus One. And number 5, Trolls Band Together. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.